Hello, everyone. Welcome to It's Sybil. I am Sybil Wilkes. Welcome in, Coy Malone. How are you?
Hey, I'm doing pretty good. Sybil Wilkes.
It's good to see you. Everything good in your world?
Yeah, this life of adulting just
You know,
doesn't get easier.
your mic doesn't sound like it is like you're coming through your earbud mic. Excuse me. Okay, now talk a little bit for me.
Is this better?
Not really. Okay.
Oh,
Uh,
dang.
that's okay. That's all right. We'll work with it. Technicals and all. Yeah. Well, welcome to the adult world. Yeah. Adulting is adulting is adulting is adulting.
It's also
How
expensive.
yeah, that part of it too. Especially since you can't depend upon other people, your mom or dad to come to the rescue now that you're an adult with an adult job and car and a house and all that other kind of stuff. I mean, some of us still have that, but we're very fortunate in that we do, right?
Right.
Um, what's the greatest challenge you're facing these days?
I think these days my greatest challenge is finances, believe it or not. I'm very good with money. I'm very good with making sure I take care of, responsibilities, necessities, and things like that. But the way inflation is going, the way that groceries are
Mm-hmm.
becoming more and more expensive, um, gas prices fluctuating, just the cost of living in general is a lot
Mm-hmm.
more than what it was even just 5 years ago, 10 years ago. That's the thing that's really making it difficult for me these days.
You're not alone. We're all noticing the higher prices in food and gasoline, in clothing, in rent for a lot of people. In absolutely uh, for those of us who are fortunate enough to own homes, property taxes are going up, and so in many cases that means your mortgage is going up, and everything is and everything. Like this was tax free weekend in the state of Texas. And while people are very happy to have this, you think about it, it's 8 cents on the dollar. And you're able to buy up to $100 in goods for your kids to start school in terms of books or notebooks and pencils and pens and tennis shoes and backpacks and things like that. But still, when you think about it, you're able to spend up to $100. You're saving $8, and is that every little bit helps, but a lot of people are saying that's not enough.
It's definitely
And
not enough.
yeah, yeah, and it's true. It's absolutely true. And so you're not the only young person or only person period who is facing this. A lot of people are struggling and suffering as a result of this. And unfortunately, the people who are increasing the rates of interest and saying they're trying to head off a recession and bring the inflation down, we're paying a higher price than those who are raising the prices for us. And just looking at the way things were during the pandemic, and they started raising prices, and they're like, okay, we can still make some money here, and they kept the prices going. And now with inflation, it's even higher, and you don't get what you used to get for the same amount of money, the same amount of food for the same amount of money. It just doesn't exist anymore.
It doesn't. Bring back the $500 apartments.
Oh, that would be great.
Right.
And where they pay your utilities too, right?
Oh my goodness. I forgot about that. The utilities included in cable and
Yeah, yeah.
that's a thing of the past.
Exactly. I'm afraid so. Coy, let's talk about the What You Need to Know newsletter. This is our Monday through Friday newsletter. It is absolutely free. We'd love to have you subscribe. Please go to sybilwilkes.com and give us your name and your email address. We'll have it in your email box every Monday through Friday. And we do what we learned from Tom Joyner, which is to super serve the African American community. We not only cover politics and health and wellness and an HBCU corner, a little no Black history fact, but we also have the addition of some young contributors, headlined by Coy Malone on this day and talking about social justice issues. And Coy, you're back with a story about the Kenosha Police Department. What has happened? What did they do this time?
Well, they are under fire for arresting and charging the wrong people after a traffic incident. Now, this happened recently at an Applebee's where there were reports of a rollover crash and people fled the scene to some nearby stores. The people that fled the scene were described as an African American male and an African American female. Apparently, the female was described as wearing a red shirt with a bun on top of her head, and the persons had a baby with them. So there was a manager on duty at the Applebee's by the name of Jennifer Harris. She said that police came to ask employees if they had seen anyone. They initially said no. And minutes later, another employee spotted people in the restaurant that kind of fit the description. So they called the police again. When they returned, they encountered a man named Jermel English. And reportedly, he was with his wife, who was wearing a white shirt. And Jermel was holding their
How was
baby.
her hair? That was my concern. I was like, well,
It
anybody
was
can change a shirt.
right. It was in a bun, apparently. And according to the description, the young lady that they were looking for had on a red scarf. She didn't. So, according to a criminal complaint that was filed by police, the couple refused to answer any of the police's questions. And at one point in time, Jermel got up to walk away to exit. Cell phone footage captured police tackling Jermel down to the ground while he still had a baby in his hands. Employees were trying to grab the baby from him. During this time, an officer
They
after
called themselves helping the police or the couple.
I
You
know,
know,
right? It's kind of they felt like they were more so helping the baby. At points, they felt like they were helping the couple, but still, I feel like there were other ways they could have helped the couple. But anyway, at one point in time, when Jermel was on the ground and tackled by police officers, another one kept repeatedly punching him, striking him while he was pinned down. And his wife was actively pulling her arm away, according to the police report, screaming and fighting officers as they were trying to take her into custody. And as a result, one of the officers deployed pepper spray without warning. And according to the restaurant's manager, everyone was exposed to this pepper spray, including the baby. And she noticed that she couldn't calm the baby down because it kept crying. And she said this is when she noticed that the baby had been exposed to the pepper spray as well. She reported this to EMS, who responded to the scene. Police are refuting this claim, saying that no one was, basically they were saying that no one was hurt by pepper spray and that no children were hurt. After this arrest happened, Mr. and Mrs. English were charged with disorderly conduct and resisting arrest. Now get this, the hit and run suspects that they were looking for were later discovered hiding in the restaurant's bathroom. Their arrest status, charges, those details have not been released as of yet. And as a result, the restaurant manager was fired from the Applebee's, and two of the employees who shot the video confrontation, their hours have been cut.
so why was the manager fired, and why were the employees? Why was their work time reduced?
There was no response from Applebee's about that. The only response that they had in an official statement was saying that they were going to cooperate with police in the investigation, which there's also going to be an internal investigation. We know how that goes with the police officers that were involved, but no word on why this woman was fired, why the restaurant workers' hours were reduced.
Wow. And you mentioned in the why you need to know about Jacob Blake. Did you have PTSD regarding this with the Kenosha Police Department?
I did. As soon as I saw this, I knew it wasn't going to be good. I was afraid to see someone being severely injured again, especially with Jacob Blake. And I don't care what they say with what happened in his lawsuit or anything. He didn't get justice at all. He didn't even deserve that at all. This is another case of the same police department sweeping brutality under the rug, charges under the rug, things that should not have happened that did happen. They're just acting like Nothing happened.
I can't. I say that the police department was wrong, and there's no reason why someone hadn't gone into the bathroom to check for these people. There's just no reason. I'm not, and I believe the police were wrong in the way they treated them. I'm just not sure if it rises to the level of the Jacob Blake case.
It's definitely a reminder. Definitely a reminder. We're dealing with the same police department that.
And so in that respect, then the police has not shown um, any growth or any improvement in their treatment of people. That part I get. Um, as far as the comparison to Jacob Blake, I didn't see that, but I get it. I get it, and it is another example of mistreatment and violent treatment by police department against young Black people.
They didn't even. I mean, in a sense, I understand questioning. I get that part, but detaining people, tackling them, pepper spray, which did hurt the baby. I don't care what they said.
Yeah, for sure,
Striking
for sure.
somebody when they're down, all those things. It's excessive force
Yeah.
and it's brutality. Now they're dealing with two separate cases of persons that did cause a hit and run, roll out over accident. What are their charges? But now you're charging people who had nothing to do with anything.
Yeah, they should not be charged. As a matter of fact, their lawyer should be on that, having those charges deleted immediately.
Right.
Absolutely. Chris Paul, welcome. How are you?
What up?
How you doing?
I'm all right.
Good, good. It's good to have you back. Chris, we're talking about social justice issues, obviously. And here's a long awaited a case of justice in the case of Henrietta Lacks. This was in the newsletter about the Black woman who was treated for cervical cancer at the Johns Hopkins University Hospital in 1951. She was 31 years old and died as a result of cervical cancer. And what was most unusual about this is they discovered the uniqueness of her cells in her body. And so they took cells as well as the biopsy tumor that they had pulled from her as they were doing their due diligence. And they found that the cells continued to grow and were soon used to, as opposed to our cells, which just kind of die and they're dormant and of no use to anyone. They grow and were used to advance research and treatment of countless numbers of issues and illnesses such as AIDS, several cancers, and even in the development of the COVID vaccine. They believe that the immortalized human cell line reproduces indefinitely under specific conditions, and the Henrietta Lacks HeLa cells continue to be a source of invaluable medical data to the present day. What they did not do is tell the family or tell Mrs. Lacks when they made this discovery that they were going to use her cells and continue them into perpetuity. And according to sources, they say at that time in the 1950s, no one had to give their consent, which just seems ridiculous. But that's the way they presented this, and the
Hold on.
family never knew.
In the
I'm
50s,
sorry,
so back in the 50s, people could just take organs and anything when you die?
and and
Doc-
and that they said without consent. Yep.
Wow.
It seems incomprehensible that that something like that would be allowed to happen, but this is what they allege, and so the family went on with their lives without their mother, without their wife, and not knowing how her cells were being used, and eventually. The rights went to a biotechnology company, which darn good and well was making money off of
Right.
this. And
Right.
the family finally found out in 1970s, after her cells had been compromised, that something was being used. And then this woman came along who was writing a book about it and let them know what was happening. And so they finally got representation and they filed a lawsuit against this biotech company. And in 2013, they were contacted by the writer Rebecca Skloot about the published scientific advances, including the HeLa cell. In 2021, they filed a lawsuit against the company Thermo Fisher for profiting, and they wanted everything. They wanted all profits that they made from the use of Mrs. Lacks cells. And with the guidance of Attorney Ben Crump, they reached a settlement on August 1st, which would have been the 103rd birthday of Henrietta Lacks. And I just hope, and they say the terms were not disclosed. My hope is that it was the kind of generational wealth for this family that has been extended to people for generations in the medical field, not only in profiting from this, but those who benefited from the use of her cells.
Gotta be a billion, upwards of a billion.
I would hope so, Chris.
That's what I was thinking.
We know how much these pharmaceutical and medical research companies make.
Right.
They make billions and billions and billions. Now, you know, how many years have they been making billions and billions and billions? And none of this happens without her.
That's right.
Right.
That's right. And, in closing on this, I said, there's no reason why this should be another example in the long discussion of why don't you people trust medical science and surveys and blind studies and all of this kind of stuff? Well, just a few simple words: a Tuskegee experiment and Henrietta Lacks.
I wonder why the financials are not being disclosed. I mean, I think it would do the public good to know that.
And that's probably part of it. The biotech lab, they might be responsible for some other stuff, Chris, and they don't want to start the chain or the continuing door for people coming in and dropping lawsuits on their desk.
But
They
also,
don't.
blacks are black. They may be like, let's keep this quiet. We got
Okay.
side relatives.
Right,
Too many different
exactly right,
coming forward.
exactly right.
If we know
Um,
that number, we're coming for that number every time.
We also talk about, I talked about the fire in Maui and asked people to keep Maui in their prayers as this continues and the numbers continue to escalate, the number of fatalities, as well as people who are just without. They're without their homes, many are without their loved ones, their pets. And their jobs, because all of the commercial area Lahaina on Front Street is gone, and that island it'll take billions of dollars for that island to come back. And as always on Ministry Monday, we ask you to take a look at Willie Mae McIver's column talking about blessings and the biblical meaning of being blessed. So let us now move to what's really going on. And I thought about this while watching, and I saved this question for you, Chris, because it's a result of Big Brother. Do you watch that reality show? Does your daughter watch it?
No.
Okay, I've not watched it ever, but it is always the source of a lot of news. Not always good infotainment, but the use of the N word is back, and the question is who can and cannot use the N word. This time, comedian Tony Rock set the record straight on who can and cannot use the racial slur. He ripped the Big Brother contestant, a white boy named Luke Valentine, for saying the N word, the white contestant, Luke Valentine. And so I'm asking both of you and asking the people who are watching and listening today, where do you stand on using the N word? It doesn't mean anyone can, only black people can, or like me, I just choose not to use it. That's just my choice, but and a personal one at that. Coy, what about you? Where do you stand on the use of the N word?
I feel like nobody should say it because it was a word created to put us down. At the same time, we go into the etymology of things and history, I'm all black power and everything. There is a group of people whose names are similar to the N word in Africa that actually existed. Not millions, I want to say millions because we're the first people here, but several hundred years ago, several centuries ago. And for that matter, I feel like we should learn where the word came from at the same time. When we're talking about it in its derogatory state, nobody should use it. If anybody does, I kind of get why Black people use it. We should really just claim rights to it. But other than that, honestly, nobody should say it.
Chris, what about you?
I got a house full of niggas right now.
Yeah.
I'm talking. I don't know what y'all. But the argument so many white folks make is it all comes from the angle of hip hop and music.
Right.
They're like,
Right.
why can't we say these lyrics the way they were written and the way they were intended by the artists? And a lot of times the artists, they don't care.
They don't. Right.
They don't care. They want white people to say their lyrics the way they wrote them.
Mm-hmm. And we'll tell you and like the Black guy in the house in Big Brother said, I don't care. I know you don't mean anything by it, but other white people in the house were offended, and this guy got kicked out.
That's how we become desensitized. When now you start seeing other Black people say, well, I don't see what the big deal is. Well, we're not in these times anymore. Why can't they say it? Oh, y'all want to find something to get mad about everything every time. This is how you become desensitized to it. And now when something actually does happen, or it happens to you, now nobody comes to your rescue, or they don't care.
So the brother also said, Coy, I don't care if you use it or not. I use it around my girlfriend. I dated a white girl. And so then he goes to tell her, he told her he didn't care how she used it, and she shouldn't care how he uses the N-word. And so
hang him up too.
whatever blows your skirt up, dude. But I Chris, and this may be before Coy's time, but do you remember when they were trying to bury the N-word? It was a very symbolic funeral in which they were taking the N-word.
Right? I think Reverend Sharpton did it.
And I want to say the NAACP, and people can correct us if we're not right, but I do remember that it was a real funeral procession where they in a casket, and they were going to bury the N-word.
Bury the N-word and bring back niggas.
And bring back what?
Niggas. We're gonna look that one up.
With the AA.
Use it right. Kings and goddesses. Kings, queens, and goddesses. There you go. Say it like that. Don't say it like the
we need government agency, like the department, and they can judge it on a case by case basis who's allowed to say it. Like the white people on that pier in Alabama, they're allowed to say it. When they said, "Get these niggas off us," they were allowed to say it at that moment because they were getting their ass beat. But someone who casually wants to rap along with a song, and the thing is, I think a lot of white people, like, they just want to do it defiantly. Like, since when did that become a battle that you want to fight? Like,
yeah,
this country, for all of its racism, people knew the word was bad. White people knew the word was bad. And they know if they used it, they had bad intentions. They knew they were being racist or hurtful when they used it. So people weren't arguing to use it. And if they used it, they did it behind closed doors with other white, like-minded people.
Right.
But now, for them to want to say it on social media and to want to say it in public and to go to a rap show and be able to just yell it out, I mean, why is that the fight you want?
It's the fight they want because it's the fight they lost in the 60s, Chris.
Did they lose it?
They never lost it. They never stopped saying it. They never stopped saying it, but I'm like, why is that headache worth it? Like, some white people can get away with saying it. Some white people in power or celebrity, like, there's not one member of the GOP that could say that word and get hurt by it. They won't lose their job. They could stand right up there in the Senate or the House and they could say the N-word. They're not gonna be kicked out of office.
They want to be able to say it and not be an undercover racist.
But they're not undercover now. But if you're a newscaster or you're a teacher, well, not hell, in Florida, I can't say you'll get fired if you're a teacher.
No, you'll probably get a bonus, and especially if you're in the government, yeah.
But other people in private industries, or if you're an athlete or something like that, if Luka Doncic, If he had a good game and he said, "No, I couldn't have done this without my niggas on the team," you get what you get.
You
They
get
want
Probably
to
what you
be
get.
us so
a
bad.
5 game suspension or something like that, but you get what you get.
They want to be us. It's the swag behind it, the way we
Yeah,
say it.
but there are other things to aspire
The
with us,
flavor.
as opposed to using the N word,
Flavor
as
is
far as
very
I'm concerned.
aspirational.
But I'm with you, Chris, that I don't think that that's the issue upon which we live or die.
But
I'm just curious about the way people use it these days.
young black people have stopped policing the word amongst their peers. Like young black people who have white friends, they don't police them hard anymore. I mean, your white friends used to know they don't say that word around you,
Right.
but now they don't care. They don't police it anymore.
That's true.
You,
And I
black
remember,
people, Puerto Ricans could say it, I guess, if you're from New York.
yeah,
Oh, there was a woman on an airplane caught on footage with her husband cursing him out. They're both Latino, and she's going off on him, nigga. And I'm like, boy, where the nigga at? I don't see him, but that's what she was calling him. And she
she
was
was
going off.
calling her husband, who was
Yeah.
Hispanic, calling him the N
Mm-hmm.
word.
Mm-hmm.
Were they dark skinned
Nope.
Latins?
Nope.
Okay. Okay. All
Not even
right.
close.
And I did say skinned it, yes.
Yeah. And
Um,
nobody said anything either.
Michelle Lynn Summerall said, I get not using, but in that case, no one should use it. However, it can be so poetic when used by Black people in the right way.
And that's what I'm saying. The flavor. They want the flavor.
Yeah. And I bet Chris, when he says it around the house, says it in the most flavorful and beautifully poetic way. So, just to give an example of use of it, when I was a kid, I came home from school and I was in a mixed school, and I told my mom that this kid told a Polish joke, except I didn't say Polish joke. I said the derivative term for Polish people, and she stopped me and she said, "Don't ever. I don't want to hear it, and I don't want to hear that coming out of your mouth." And she said, "If they will tell a Polish joke, they'll tell a Jewish joke, they'll tell a Chinese joke, and they will tell an N word joke." And that put me in a place to be very careful of the use of words and things like that. Until yesterday, a man was my air conditioner stopped working, and so the guy was coming in. He was very chatty, and I don't know why he chose me to have these conversations at the end of his day. But he was talking about different people. He was talking about um, Polacks. He was talking, and these are the words he was saying, and I was like, Mister, I cannot allow you to have this conversation. Not in my house. And he was like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I'm sorry." And I was like, "No, no, you can't." He said, "But I was referring to myself." And I was like, "I don't care. I That's not the kind of language that I choose to use in my house." And then he was trying, and then he got nervous, and then he just started talking about a whole bunch of stuff. And I had to text Yolanda and say, call me, please." But because I just wanted to get him to stop and just do what he had to do, let me sign off, and then I started getting some chilly air, and I was good. But it just reminds me, maybe not everyone, and I'll ask you guys, are there situations where you're reminded how freely people say words which are disparaging about other people?
Like, I don't know the last time I've heard that
Well,
derogatory
this is Texas,
for,
remember.
for Polish people, but I remember when
Yeah.
I was a kid, I didn't even think that word was that bad because Archie Bunker kept saying it.
Right. But CBS would say the words used we do not agree to, right?
I mean, I knew that none of these words were as bad as the N word. I mean, nothing comes out of a racist white person's lips like the N word.
Right,
Right.
Nothing
right.
cooks sizzles like that. So all these other words were like, they were just like, I don't know, colorful descriptions.
Well, there were words, the K word to use about Jews. There is the C word. As a matter of fact, we had a guy who used to say that on Sundays his family would have the Chinese food, but it wasn't Chinese. It was it rhymes with link, and so it was all of this stuff, and I just and he laughed about it. But I don't get it when people use disparaging words about you. Why is it okay to use it about a completely different group of people?
My thing is, it's so looked down upon and horrible if we were to use derogatory terms that refer to other races. I don't know if it's a thing, if they call each other that, those names amongst themselves or what have you, if they've been able to take those terms back and flip the meaning, as a lot of Black people say, we flip the meaning of the N-word. That's why we're able to use it and stuff like that. Still, when you say these names in other spaces, in any space, it's offensive. So why is their words offensive, what's referred to them as offensive, but our words is like, oh, it's okay, we should all be able to say it. That's the reason why I feel like everybody should just stop saying it, because we can't do that with Jewish people. We can't
And
do
it's
that with
not
Asian
just
people.
about the races. I don't like us being called the B word, Coy. I don't.
Right.
I don't. That just doesn't.
That's
That's
another
not
thing.
something.
Right.
And Chris is looking at you. Bees are crazy. But it is. That's just something else. I think when we use these disparaging terms about people and about ourselves, or with our girls, and call it a term of endearment, I think we have it really screwed up.
We do.
Carolyn Jones Jameson, I agree with Chris Rock on N words. Okay.
What did he
Type,
say? I
type
can't
that,
remember.
type that with a hard R.
Yeah, there's no O's to that. It's
Yeah.
straight
Ah,
ers, in ners.
I'm just saying.
I
Mm-mm.
guess Arthretta Wilson on Facebook. Oh, I wish the word would disappear. Child of the 60s, 70s who lives up north, but experienced discrimination, and still some things still come up today. Not even comedians. I cringe every time. I don't cringe. I just don't. And I guess maybe Chris, because I've worked with comedians for so long, and it is a part of the on stage patter as well as off air patter, and in the studio and things like that. So I don't cringe so much. I've become accustomed to it, Coy, and I don't know if that's true to you for you, but um,
Mm.
it is disturbing.
I say something.
CM Williams says, on a mission to stop SiriusXM for allowing the word to air in the rap songs they play. That's interesting.
I don't say
That's
something
really
all the time. I don't know. It might have slipped out of my. And I always give the precursor of, I don't like this word, but
right,
when
right.
I'm quoting or saying something, but no. Mm-mm.
I'm paying attention. I'm losing power in my in my laptop, and so I'm looking for the cord so I can reconnect.
Well, Dr.
Yeah.
R says, then we get mad when some people say it and want that person fired. Stop it. We are more than that.
Well, the fact that Don, what was the old DJ talk show host who talked about the women's black women, the nappy headed, what?
Hyman.
Yeah,
That was disturbing.
very.
That was disturbing. And he got fired,
Right.
and I
Don,
wasn't mad at that. And
Don,
even though,
uh,
say again, Chris.
I said, yeah, Don Imus got fired for that.
Yeah, yeah, he sure did. He got fired. So,
Carol Crowley says, why
why
do
do
Black
Black Americans
Americans
react to the
react to
word
that
as if
word?
someone screamed fire?
Because they did
Carol
when they used to
on
get hit
Facebook
by a
says
whip
that.
after they said that. That's why. It's in our DNA. Trauma.
And now, because of music, again, these
Right.
white kids are becoming accustomed to the word younger and younger. I mean, have you ever heard a story of a white parent, popping their kid in the mouth for saying the N word?
They will tell you that I don't allow that, but there's nothing about, any kind of physical to stop them from using it. No, I
I'm,
won't allow that word in my house. Well, yeah, you will.
I'm black, and when I was a kid, if I had said the N word, my mom and dad would have popped me in the mouth.
So do you
Mine
remember the
definitely
first time
has.
you said it and got away with it, Chris?
I don't remember. I know, but we got popped in the mouth anytime we said a word like anything.
Yeah. We
We
couldn't even say damn or hell. I mean, it was like,
we say darn, we get popped in the mouth.
right,
Yeah, I
right.
said, dang, I got on punishment, put on
Right.
punishment. For real.
Yeah, I mean, that's true. That's
The
absolutely
N
true.
word has such a negative connotation to it, though. It's not just describing black people. It's describing black people that are like the worst of the worst, the bottom of the bottom. So usually when I hear that adjective in a sentence or describing people or a group or something, or when I, used to work in the club, they're like, oh yeah, it's ends over here doing this, it's ends over here doing that. It just was like this immediate feeling of ugh, yuck, because the way they would use it and describe it.
Right. And it's just a different day. It is
Yeah.
a different day.
I will say I did correct somebody when I was in jail. There was a young white lady that was
That
locked
might
up with
not be
me
the
that said
place
it.
to do it, but
Oh,
okay.
I
So
did it.
tell us.
Oh no, I did. We were locked. It was like we had how many of us in the cell? About 6 of us. It was kind of overcrowded. And she was one of the ones that kind of act like us. Like I was like, oh Lord, how long is this gonna last? Please don't say it. Please don't say it. As soon as she said, I said, don't say that no more. While I'm in here, you do not say that word. And she didn't. I was into that.
Would Dr. Dre and Ice Cube be famous today if they had came out in a group called Brothers with Attitudes?
No.
Niggas with attitude.
I mean,
I,
Gods,
I,
goddesses,
I think
kings,
you're
and
right.
queens
I
with
think you're right,
attitude.
the
Chris.
tone of every song had been positive.
Right.
Would
Yeah,
they
50 years of hip hop with just nothing but positive lyrics. I wonder how far they would have gotten. I
Gods with
wonder how far.
attitude.
became
Mm.
straight out of Compton, a civil rights fighter named Ice Cube from the thing called Brothers with Attitudes?
So
Nope.
that's the question for today. What's really going on?
Kings.
I appreciate you all for participating. Let's move to trending news. And first of all, Chris, where you been? What you doing?
Man, I've been in Jamaica, man. And we messed around. Huggy and I, we were our last night there was supposed to be Saturday night and go home Sunday. We're at the bar Saturday, and the promoter Brian and his wife Nikki are at the bar, and they said they're leaving on Monday. We said it sure would be nice to leave on Monday. They got on their phones and their laptops, and they added a day to our trip. But
That's
because they added a day, I don't know if you knew last week in the DMV there were major severe storms.
storms. Yeah.
It took us 17 hours to get home.
Oh goodness.
Wow.
We just hovered over Reagan National Airport for hours, and then they took us and dropped us off in Baltimore. Man, at 2:30 in the morning, they just left us in Baltimore
Oh my gosh.
with nobody had a way to get home. I'm gonna tell you what, it was ugly.
I will say, I bet it
Yikes.
was. I bet it was. Well, we're glad you're back safe and sound. Where are you guys headed next?
I don't remember the exact date, but it's coming up very soon. It's Huggy Lowdown and Friends again at the Holiday Inn in College Park, Maryland, with special guest Griff,
Oh, from Erica Campbell.
Erica Campbell. Griff, who opened up his own comedy club, by the way. Congratulations to
Oh
Griff.
cool.
And we'll be there soon. But yeah, he's coming. He's coming to DC to perform with me and Huggy.
I love that. We got to get him on to talk about the new comedy club. Absolutely. Griff is he's a good guy. He really is. Um, I talked about Maui a little bit, and there was a story that I wanted to mention that was made over the weekend. Oprah Winfrey is a part-time resident of the island of Maui in Hawaii, and one story came out that she was reportedly denied entry into a Maui shelter where the survivors were seeking refuge. Officials on the island are trying to clear it up. They said that she showed up to War Memorial Gymnasium in Wailuku last week with a CBS News crew, but was turned away, not allowed until she told the camera operators to wait outside. The county explained to clarify Oprah was able to visit our shelter, and we thank her for instructing media, journalists, and camera crews to remain outside for the personal space of the people. She was not singled out, but she got the same treatment. All media showing up at the shelter saying, "We would, would prefer you didn't if you're going to videotape these people who are living their worst nightmare." And her visit inside the shelter was truly heartwarming. We appreciate her understanding of our policy and having no camera crews or reporters accompanying dignitaries and celebrities in their emergency shelters. And video from inside the shelter Thursday showed her handing out pillows to the evacuees. She also passed out things like toiletries and even cots, but there's no words that she threw anything like paper towels at the people. So that was good news.
You did the Henrietta Lacks story earlier. Was that an Oprah movie?
Yes,
Oh,
yes, it was. She that was an Oprah movie. You're absolutely right. She played Henrietta Lacks in that story in that movie, and I highly recommend that for people who don't know the history of Henrietta Lacks. There is a book and a movie, and that is it's a touching movie. But this was like, and I want to say that's like about 10 years ago, Chris, when that movie came out, the Henrietta Lacks story, and now we have this update finally. Sad news to report in the world of Hollywood, and music, and Black folks in general. Clarence Avant, the trailblazing record executive and the man who was the connector to so many people in so many different areas in this world, has died at the age of 92. He was known as the Black Godfather, and he passed over the weekend. And the last time people heard about Clarence Avant as the Black Godfather was when his home was broken into some 20, less than 2 years ago. And his wife was killed by an intruder into their home. She was 80 something at the time. And a lot of people thought, well, he's lived a great life, and hopefully he'll go on from this. But many people today, in conversations with people, are saying they believe that he died of a broken heart. He and his wife had been married for, I believe, 50 years. And the Black Godfather in music, entertainment, politics, and sports. And his daughter, Nicole, is married. She was a former, I want to say she was a uh, former ambassador to Jamaica. And she is also married to Ted Sarandos of Netflix. That's where the Black Godfather, the documentary about his life, was produced.
incredibly popular documentary too.
Yes, really, and a lot of people were schooled. They didn't know. A lot of young people, if they weren't in this business, just had no idea the 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 connections, the wealth of information and relationships that he had and that he extended to people. He started way back in the day when he was starting out in his native North Carolina, and he managed successful acts that included Sarah Vaughan back in the day. And Jimmy Smith, and also his deal making, caught the attention of Quincy Jones, who described him as his best friend and his brother. And he went on to broker the sale of Stax Records in the 60s and founded his own label, Sussex Records. He signed and discovered my favorite, Bill Withers, and on his label, and the rock and roll fame member Bill Withers gave him his first record deal.
There are people out here who just make things happen.
Yeah, he was that guy.
How many other people are successful because of them? And it's not just in entertainment. Like, who's the brother that Bill Clinton used to hang out with? Is it?
Vernon Jordan.
Yeah, he's one of the
Yeah,
brokers like that too. I mean,
yeah, yeah, yep.
make things happen, and everybody's like, "Who's this guy?" Oh, that's
And
Bill.
Clarence Avant also played a very important role in Bill Clinton's life and administration as president too. And he just an amazing man. And I'm really sorry for his family's loss. And but as a lot of people said, they are glad that he and his wife Jacqueline are together now. So it's sad to report. Um, Toyota has issued a voluntary, I don't know what you all are driving these days. They've issued a voluntary recall for certain 2022 and 23 Tundra and Tundra hybrid trucks in its largest recall of the year. They announced that 168,000 vehicles in the US have a plastic fuel tube that could rub against a brake line and develop a fuel leak. So it's rubbing up against and a leak develops. It could potentially cause a fire in the absence of an ignition source. The company will replace the tube for free, is preparing to make the replacement parts available. In the meantime, they said its dealers will install protective materials and a clamp at no cost to the customers, and they will notify vehicle owners who are affected by the faulty part. And talked last week about Kia and Hyundai cars, and how they're advising people to, if they have these particular vehicles, park outside in case of fire. So, I mean, it's crazy. All of the things that I just found out that I have to get another car, and whatever I look at, I'm just kind of looking at like, what kind of reports, what kind of recalls have you all had lately? And that's not the way you should, be looking for a car, what you can afford and what's comfortable for you. But, also looking at what, what are the people saying? What are the consumer reports saying? Which makes a lot of dealerships crazy.
Remember, fellas, every auto recall is an opportunity for you to.
Well, Chris, you dropped out at the last one. Every
I said,
recall is an opportunity.
married men, all you fellas with women at home, every auto recall is your opportunity to come home after hours. Drive a Tundra, you can roll in at 4 in the morning, baby. I
You're so
fuel
cute.
line rubbed up against my brake line, and I start.
And
I pulled
Mm-mm.
it.
Chris with the advice for the married brothers. Okay. Um,
Yikes.
did y'all see the flash mob at the Nordstrom store in Los Angeles over the weekend?
Well,
No.
people are saying stop calling them flash mobs because
I
flash
know.
mobs are usually like break out and dance or something somewhere.
Right, right.
These
But
people,
what happened was the attack began in a flash, and the mob of people came in with hoodies and other disguises across their face, entered the Nordstrom store in the Los Angeles area, grabbing merchandise, running out of the department store, according to authorities. And between 30 to 50 people rushed the Nordstrom store in Canoga Park in Los Angeles. The daytime robbery at the Westfield Mall occurred around 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and they were masked and wearing dark clothing. The group grabbed armfuls of purses, other accessories, and items, according to reports. And there was use of bear repellent, some sort of bear spray, in order to make people to disengage people from trying to follow them out.
That's not a flash mob. That's a smash and grab.
Smash and grab mob. Yeah, yeah.
you know, I was involved if there's ever a flash mob at the big and tall store. Like eight ran into a DXL and ran out.
Right.
Chris, they were grabbing. You know how the expensive purses have the security uh, ropes and strings and all of that. They were just grabbing the podiums that were holding the purses,
I
just
think I
picking them
saw
up
that.
and taking them out of the store.
And this is happening everywhere.
Yeah,
It's all on TikTok and everything. And I just think it's going to open up a door for security guards are going to just start shooting people.
that's the
I,
fear.
young people are going to die over this. And you're talking about a country watching this that will be all in favor of it. Like
Hmm.
the white folks in this country watching, be like, they shouldn't be stealing.
Yeah.
Trigger happy country is
Right.
gonna call for trigger happy solutions.
And that's the truth. I mean, whether it's in carjacking, people are being carjacked, are responding with their own guns, and people are being killed or seriously wounded on both sides of the gun, and it's a frightening situation that's going on, as you say, all over the country.
Has it happened in Texas yet?
Um, they've had situations where there have been attempts. I'm not sure about full-fledged success, but these have been stopped by people who were packing and were
Yeah.
carrying guns.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's going to happen more and more as more cities, as more states allow for gun use. It's going to happen more and more. Absolutely. We talking about recalls. This is something near and dear to my heart. Nestle's is recalling their Toll House chocolate chip cookie dough bar because the snacks may contain wood fragments.
Oh my
How
gosh.
how do you have? Oh, look, some wood fragments. Let me just put that into this bowl. Nobody will notice.
A disgruntled worker.
Uh,
House cookies give
Gotta be.
wood.
What kind of bar are we talking about? Is this like individual bars or
They're
you go check the refrigerator?
no, these are where you can put them in, and so you can slice them up. From what I can tell,
Oh God, I gotta go check the refrigerator, y'all.
it got us just a little bit of wood fragments. You'll be all right.
Oh my God.
Lizzo has been dropped from the Super Bowl halftime show consideration. She had
Dang.
not been booked, but she was on the list after her dancers' sexual harassment and abuse claims. And this first there were three, and then six more, and now so there's a group of nine have filed similar complaints, bringing their total to nine people. And it's just not a good time for her. She's gonna have to. What do you think? Do you think she's going to have to go away and regroup and kind of reframe and repurpose herself and come back as a different Lizzo?
I mean, is she going to have an opportunity to prove her innocence? She said she was innocent.
Yeah.
So, I mean, how does that work? Are they going to trial or something? Are they?
Well, they have sued, and so I don't know whether they'll work it out and come to some sort of agreement, or whether this will go all the way to a jury trial.
But no Super Bowl for her. I guess that means
No.
brothers with attitude. Or
And good on Damar Hamlin. He's played his first NFL game since experiencing cardiac arrest in the field
that's
in
scary.
January.
That's
Sorry?
scary to go back out there.
Yeah,
You know, no
yeah.
one like that's like you got to. If your engine breaks down in your car, you're never 100% comfortable driving that thing again.
Right, right. It's got to be some apprehension on his part as well as his team, his coach and the trainers and all that. The trainers who were on, did you see them on the ESPYs when they were awarded and he presented the
Yeah,
award to them? Yeah, that
yeah.
was pretty touching. Pretty touching. And speaking of awards, did anybody see the NBA Hall of Fame awards over the weekend?
I just saw clips of the Hall of Fame, the enshrinement ceremony.
Right. Yeah. It
I
was
didn't see
interesting.
it.
Some of the speeches are, and then they really put everybody in their right place in terms of the order in which they gave. And Dwayne Wade gave the best speech, and it was really a powerful moment for him as well. Yeah,
They
good
brought
on them.
there.
Let's move to entertainment. Check this out. Do you guys remember the movie The Blind Side?
Yes.
About the big black kid who started out in high school football, was supposedly adopted by a white family. He went to college and was ultimately selected for the NFL. He was a tackle in the NFL, and the real life character's name, the real life person's name, is Michael Orr. He was known for the movie. He did not play himself in the movie, but the story, and the Tennessee family, Sean and Leanne Toohey and their children. He has now filed a petition Monday in a Tennessee probate court accusing the family of lying to him by having him sign papers making them his conservators rather than his adoptive parents nearly 2 decades ago.
Oh
The
goodness.
petition filed in Shelby County, he asked for the conservatorship to be terminated, along with asking for a full accounting of the money earned off of the use of his name and story. In
Oh
his
wow.
suit, he claims that Sean and Leanne Toohey tricked him into allowing them to become his conservators and profiting off of his name and image. He also asked to be paid what he is due along with the interest. He's
Oh
never
wow.
been a fan of them. And you know, when you're online, sometimes you'll see the clickbait stories, or you think that they're clickbait stories, and this is one. Find out what Michael Orr really thinks about The Blind Side. And I just like, just one of those things is just going to take me down the rabbit hole. This apparently is true. He has told people that don't believe the story, and these people are not the nice people that they were characterized to be. The woman is not Sandra Bullock, and the man is not the country singer. No, this is a completely different story. And he's never been a fan of the movie, and he wants them to pay the compensatory and punitive damages determined by a court.
The movie made $300 million, and apparently Michael Orr didn't get a penny of it.
Not a dime. The Tuohys, the mother, father, and their children got
And
money.
and their children were set up by it. And you talk about a young high school kid
Yep.
who thought he was getting adopted, but you weren't
Right.
getting adopted.
Yeah. No.
You didn't sign adoption papers. You signed away all your future earnings.
Yep.
And see, now this makes sense because I don't recall one interview, one, anything, publication with this young man talking about the movie, giving his side. I don't even remember him having an appearance like later on in the movie. Yes, thanks for tuning in and watching the movie about my life. And this is where I am now. No, where are they now? No, nothing like that. I have heard things about like he didn't really like the movie, but not so much why. But now it all makes sense.
Now it all comes out.
Mm-hmm.
And Chris, I don't know if you remember when the movie came out, and they were like, "Well, he's busy with football. They've got practice, and it's the season is beginning, and yada yada yada, all of these other things. And it was all football related. That's why he couldn't participate. That's why he wasn't in the interviews. That's why.
Right.
We never saw him connected to anything with these movies, and he said never saw it, and now I want my money.
This whole thing's
They're
got me
paying.
Sandra Bullock.
Yeah. Poor Sandra Bullock. Oh my gosh. He accused the Tuohys of never trying to take legal action to assume custody from the Tennessee Department of Human Services before he turned 18. And the conservatorship paperwork was filed in 2004 after he turned 18 in May of that year. That's crazy. That is crazy. It's so disappointing. Human nature. Well, the truth will out, and I hope that he gets all this coming to him. As far as, but how awful is that? The mama, the daddy, and the two kids that are pictured in the movie
I
get.
saw I saw a podcast, a clip of a podcast. I didn't. When I saw what it was, I turned it off because I didn't want to hear it. But it was the son. He was on a podcast explaining the family side and the whole thing. I said, "Man,
Oh,
save it, save it. You're rich off of this brother."
wow. Yeah, absolutely.
They better pay him.
Thanks so much, you guys, for coming in today, and I appreciate folks participating in our questions. We're going to leave with the jewel, our daily inspiration. Being open to things that you don't know or understand leads to an opportunity to grow. All right, so take a chance, find out some stuff, and grow. Thank you so much, Chris. We appreciate it, and glad you're back, safe and sound. And I hope you had a great takeover in Jamaica. Coy, keep adulting, and everyone, we'll see you soon. Please pray for Maui. Aloha.